Nestlé, known for chocolate and baby formula, has built a controversial empire around water. From Michigan to Pakistan, they've used legal loopholes, political influence, and aggressive lobbying to extract water from public sources and sell it at massive profits. How did they gain such control over a vital resource? And what does it mean for our future? Nestlé, the world's largest food and beverage company, operates over 2,000 brands across 186 countries. Its bottled water business, however, is both highly profitable and deeply contentious, turning a free resource into a multi-billion-dollar industry. This is a story of power, control, and who decides access to a basic human need: bottled water economics. The economics of bottled water are staggering. In most developed nations, it's no safer than tap water, yet costs hundreds to thousands of times more. Nestlé has turned this into a revenue stream exceeding $7 billion annually by extracting groundwater from rural areas at minimal cost. In Stanwood, Michigan, they pumped over 400 gallons per minute, paying just $200 yearly. This allowed them to bottle millions of gallons as pure life, reaping huge profits while locals face dry wells, shrinking lakes, and environmental damage. Similar cases unfold globally, like in Ontario, Canada, where Nestlé extracted 4.7 million liters daily from a single well, paying negligible fees. This model thrives on exploiting communities with limited resources, leaving them to bear the ecological and economic costs while Nestlé's profits soar. Legal loopholes and permits. Nestlé's success relies on exploiting legal ambiguities. In many regions, groundwater is unowned, so a cheap permit allows unlimited pumping. In Canada, they paid less than $4 per million liters extracted. When communities resist, Nestlé deploys lawyers, PR campaigns, and political pressure. In British Columbia, despite public petitions and media scrutiny, their permit remained intact due to lax regulations and lobbying. In Michigan, they secured permits despite environmental concerns, leveraging local government's need for economic activity. In developing nations where oversight is weaker, Nestlé often faces less resistance, securing permits through quiet negotiations with underfunded regulators. This pattern reveals a company adept at bending laws to its advantage, prioritizing profit over public welfare. Public backlash. Public outrage has surged over the past decade. In California, during a historic drought from 2011 to 2017, Nestlé extracted tens of millions of gallons from San Bernardino National Forest, while residents faced water restrictions. Protests erupted, with activists accusing the company of profiting from scarcity. In Pakistan, near water-stressed villages, Nestlé's bottling plants were blamed for depleting aquifers, forcing locals to buy their own water, back at unaffordable prices. In Flint, Michigan, their donation of bottled water during the 2014-2016 lead crisis was called a PR stunt, as they continued extracting water nearby. In New Zealand, communities rallied against Nestlé's plans to expand bottling operations, citing threats to local water supplies. These incidents have fueled global resistance, with Nestlé becoming a symbol of corporate greed. The water is not a human right controversy. In 2005, Nestlé's then CEO Peter Brabeck ignited global controversy when he suggested that viewing water as a human right was an extreme position. Instead, he argued that water should be treated as a market commodity to ensure its efficient distribution and management. The reaction was immediate and fierce. Activists, NGOs, and media outlets condemned the remarks, accusing Nestlé of prioritizing profits over basic human needs. The phrase, "water is not a human right," became a symbolic rallying cry for critics of water privatization, even though Brabeck later claimed his comments were taken out of context. In subsequent interviews and public statements, Brabeck attempted to walk back the backlash, saying he did believe in universal access to a basic daily amount of clean water. However, he continued to advocate for privatized models for any usage beyond essential needs, such as in agriculture or industrial consumption. This stance exposed Nestlé's underlying philosophy. Water, beyond basic survival, should be governed by market forces. The controversy had long-lasting effects, solidifying Nestlé's image as a symbol of corporate overreach in the global water debate. It remains a defining moment that intensified public scrutiny, ignited activist campaigns, and shaped the conversation around who controls the world's most vital resource. The global water grab. Nestlé's global water strategy is often cited as emblematic of the so-called blue gold movement, a term used to describe the corporate race to control and profit from freshwater resources. Around the world, Nestlé has faced mounting resistance from communities and activists who accuse the company of exploiting underregulated water sources, often at the expense of local populations and ecosystems. In Brazil, Nestlé encountered fierce opposition when it attempted to privatize public springs in rural areas. Activists accused the company of limiting community access to essential water supplies while profiting from public resources. In South Africa, Nestlé's extraction operations were linked to worsening drought conditions, raising alarms about ecological damage and long-term sustainability. Even in France, where the company is headquartered, there has been increasing pressure for transparency in how much water Nestlé extracts. Critics allege that sensitive aquifers are being overdrawn, contributing to environmental stress. In Nigeria, a country already grappling with widespread water insecurity, Nestlé's operations have drawn criticism for intensifying local water scarcity. The company's strategy, targeting vulnerable rural regions, securing permits through quiet channels, and extracting water at industrial scale, maximizes profit while often sidelining local needs. This approach reveals how corporate interests can redefine access to water, one of the world's most essential and contested resources. Selling off or rebranding. In 2021, Nestlé sold its North American water brands, including Pure Life, Poland Spring, Deer Park, and others, for $4.3 billion to private equity firms. One Rock Capital, Partners in Metropolis, and Company. While some critics viewed the move as a retreat in response to growing backlash over water privatization, plastic pollution, and environmental concerns, it was in fact a calculated strategic pivot. Rather than exiting the water business, Nestlé shifted focus toward its more lucrative and globally respected premium brands like Perrier, Ecedot Pellegrino, and Acqua Panna. These high-end waters, often marketed for their mineral content, heritage, and prestige, offer significantly higher profit margins. Nestlé continues to operate robust water businesses in Europe, South America, and Asia, regions where regulatory frameworks and consumer expectations differ markedly. In Europe, for instance, Perrier is sourced from the Vergèze Springs in France, a site that has faced scrutiny from environmental activists for over-extraction and its ecological impact. Still, Nestlé positions Perrier as a symbol of elegance and wellness. This shift underscores how Nestlé is not backing away from bottled water, but rather repositioning its portfolio to emphasize image, profitability, and market resilience. It's a textbook case of corporate brand adaptation, amid rising consumer and environmental pressure. The bigger problem. Nestlé is a glaring example, but not the only one, in a system where corporations exploit outdated water laws. Globally, inconsistent water rights standards leave communities vulnerable. In the US, federal oversight of groundwater is minimal, leaving states to negotiate with powerful corporations. In developing nations, underfunded regulators often lack the capacity to enforce limits. Climate change exacerbates the issue, with droughts and scarcity amplifying the impact of corporate extraction. Until governments treat water as a protected public resource, companies like Nestlé will profit unchecked.